we're going to be watching for our opponent's pieces to see if they're sleeping on the job and not protecting the other pieces. We're also going to focus on underprotected pieces. There are so many more attacks from white on black. The game I want to show you was played at the Indiana State Regional Chess Tournament a few years ago. A team from Madison was playing white, and a team from another school was playing black. The game starts off with white moving a pawn up 2, and then black moving the d pawn up 2, white capturing the black pawn, and then black bringing the queen out early. And right away we can see that there is an unprotected piece. White takes advantage of the unprotected piece by attacking it with the knight, and so the queen now has to make 2 moves in the opening. And you can see that the black queen is still unprotected. There is a check on the king that white has to take care of, so white just blocks it. It's a very easy block. And then white moves up a pawn 1. But the queen is still unprotected. So white is going to attack that queen again, and now white has to make its 3rd move in the opening. Now, you can see here that the black bishop is now protecting the queen. The problem is that the queen is such a valuable piece that it's still open for lots of attacks from white. White doesn't attack it right away. Instead, white puts the king in check, to which black has a very easy block. But now, white attacks the queen yet again. And there's no way black's going to give up a queen for a pawn, so black now has to move the queen for the 4th time in the opening. And again, the queen is still out here in the open and is still vulnerable to an attack. You can see that there's an X-ray attack here on the black knight. The knight is being protected by the pawn, and so if the 2 are to exchange, it would be an even trade. There's a thing in chess called piling on the pin, or more attackers than defenders. And so what white could do is move the knight to e5 here, putting another attack on that black knight. And let's say that black did something crazy like this. What white could do then is capture the knight, pawn would recapture, score as 3-3, but then white could back it up with another attack and fork both the rook and the king at the same time. Sorry about my arrows there. There, that's a little bit better. If black instead chose to protect the knight with the bishop, then the bishop is a bad bishop. It's in a poor location. All of black's pieces are busy trying to defend all the attacks, and white's position is very open and dynamic. What white does instead is castles, which is a perfectly fine move, and it's a great developing move, and there's nothing wrong with it. Black responds by attacking the knight, which is not very strong because the knight's being protected. And white then moves the bishop to g5, which is not a very strong move because it's easily blocked by black, which is what black does. It chases the bishop off. What would have been better is to take this rook here and put it on e1. e1 puts an X-ray attack on the king along with the X-ray attack that white has on the knight. Black is just spending so much time defending all of these attacks from white that it just gets really confusing and really overwhelming for black to keep up with everything that's going on. Again, white moves to g5, to which black responds there. White moves back, but black is going to attack again. And now the white bishop is kind of in a corner. I mean, there's some openings, and if you look, black does have some unprotected pieces. There's an unprotected piece there, an unprotected piece there, and an unprotected piece there. So on the very next move, white could capture this pawn and come out a point ahead. Now, a few seconds ago I had mentioned about how if there's a lot of attacks from white on black, sometimes the opponent can get very confused and kind of lose track of all the things that are going on in a game. And that might be what happened on this next move, because black moved the queen to f4. And this is a scalp, and I'm surprised at how many kids give up their queens for free during the course of a chess game. And if you can make your position so complicated against your opponents that they start losing track of where their pieces are, you can get a lot of free pieces, or at least pieces of greater value, which is what white does. White takes the queen, and now black has 4 undefended pieces. 4 targets that white can now look to break open this game and to win very quickly. White then moves the knight to h4, which isn't that great of a move. Knights on the rim are grim, and this is kind of one of those examples. The knight is on the side of the board. Knight can't go to that square because it's being blocked by the pawn. Can't go to that square because of the pawn, and if the knight moves back here, it just gets back to the square that it was before. So it really wasn't a strong move for white to make. Black responds by moving the knight there, to which the queen now puts a check on the king. Now another place to look for strategies to help build up your rating is an open king. And here you can see that the king is open. And by moving that queen up to h5, it creates an attack on the king. King either has to move, which leaves it in even more danger, or it risks losing other pieces. Black ends up moving the knight to g6, which you can see white does a great move here. White captures the knight. Now, the pawn here cannot recapture. I suppose it could recapture, but if it did, then the white queen would just take the black rook for free. And so black really doesn't have a whole lot of options about what it can do. This piece is pinned. Another X-ray attack. So black moves the rook to g7 to protect it. And now if you look, we have even more unprotected pieces from black. There's 5. Now, white sees that black can capture the knight on the next move, so white moves the knight out of the way, but there's actually a better move for white that has to deal with these unprotected pieces, and that is queen takes pawn at h7. And the reason why that's such a great move is that now the black rook is trapped. Black rook can't move here, or it'll be captured. Can't move there, it will be captured. If it moves there, it will be captured. And if the king tries to defend the rook, the king can't move here because it's being protected by the queen. So no matter what black does, that rook is going to go. Black could try to defend the rook by moving... Oh, it can't, because there is a pin right here. And even if the knight could move there, the queen could put a checkmate on the king right there. So the game is just about over. What the computer suggests is rook takes, and then queen takes at g6, putting the king in check, and the king is wide open. This game is going to end very soon.